Did you all know that we all have varying levels of confidence and that our confidence can change depending on the situation? Our confidence is also very closely linked to the volume of our voices. You see, there are people who already speak boldly. Some people speak in just a whisper. And then we have those who, for whatever reason, have lost their voices along the way. Maybe they lost their voices because they were scared. Maybe they were ashamed. Maybe they were anxious. Maybe they were nervous. Imagine them having to stand on a TEDx stage for the very first time. This would make some people kind of nervous. Maybe someone said something to them, something cruel. They believed it, and it changed the way they saw themselves forever. Maybe this person made up their mind to do something hard. They failed and convinced themselves that they would never try again. If I were to ask you about a moment that you felt incredibly uncomfortable, whatever thought that comes into your mind is likely a moment that is seared into your memory forever. Now, this doesn't mean that that moment was particularly traumatic for you. But this vivid memorization where you can recall uncomfortable negative moments quickly highlights the brain's inherent bias toward negativity. We are wired to recall negative information more quickly than positive information. It's crazy. You can have 100 great experiences, one bad encounter, and that one bad encounter will taint the way you remember that entire experience. Think about a restaurant getting your order wrong. You will always think about that one time. This is a process called emotional tagging. It is where our brain will assign an emotion to a memory. And oftentimes, depending on the intensity of that emotion, it tells the brain how to file it in its memory bank. Think about it. If you are nervous about public speaking, just the mere thought may make your heart begin to race. Your hands get a little clammy and sweaty. What if you're afraid of the dark? And just the idea of plunging into darkness will make your hair stand up on the back of your neck, give you this uneasy feeling in the pit of your stomach. What is so incredible about this emotional tagging sequence is that sometimes you cannot control what happens to you. Sometimes you can't even control your body's natural reaction. But today, I want to spend a little time exploring what's happening here, what's happening in our minds as it pertains to our confidence and finding our voice. See, the key to this emotional tagging process is not just what happens in that moment, it's what happens next. Because according to a Harvard business study, while emotional tagging presents an emotion in that moment, it has the power to influence the way you think in the future, the way you make decisions, the way you behave. One bad experience can change everything. I had a bad experience from my childhood. And while I stand here today looking and feeling pretty confident in my mustard yellow pants and my leopard shoes, there was a time that I didn't feel so good about myself. You see, in the 6th grade, I had a growth spurt without warning, and I didn't appreciate being tall. I'm sure there are some tall girls who can relate. I can remember how I felt always having to go to the back of the line. I remember how uncomfortable I was when my pants, when they didn't quite reach my ankles. I remember how I felt when other students who were shorter than I was, when they'd stare at me. Some of them with looks of bewilderment, but then there were those with looks that, if I'm honest, they were downright mean. I can remember having a bad day. And on my way to the car, there was a kid making jokes about me being tall. And when I got into the car, my mom could tell that something was wrong. All the way home, she asked me over and over and over and over again. And I finally blurted out to her, I didn't like being tall. I don't like being taller than my classmates because they teased me. And she looked at me. She told me I was beautiful. She reminded me that as a straight A student, I already had the things I needed to be successful. My mom reassured me that being tall was a gift and that one day I'd recognize that. Y'all, she told me I was the total package. I still smile when I think about that encounter with my mom, may she rest in heaven, because it's amazing what a good pep talk can do. From that point on, things began to change. I felt something awaken on the inside. I went into the 7th grade where I was walking the halls with 8th graders, 9th graders, those who had already had their growth spurts, those who had found sports and realized it was a gift being tall. And I felt like I had arrived. I found my people. Everything began to change. As I grew through junior high sports, high school basketball, earning a full scholarship to a Division I school, and even playing professional basketball, participating in arenas all around the world in front of thousands and thousands of fans, something inside of me grew. I found my voice. What was interesting, though, was not just what was happening to me on the inside. It was what was happening on the outside. People could see that change in me. And every team I've had the opportunity to play on, my teammates asked me to be captain. They asked me to be their voice. Special. See, the thing that we don't always realize about confidence, you've got folks who think that confidence is something you're born with. You either have it or you don't. But some of us know the truth. Confidence is a learnable skill. Every single person can learn to be more confident. Confidence is just your belief in yourself, your belief in your abilities, that you can accomplish hard things despite challenges, despite obstacles. You believe in you. While it's an internal mechanism, it's something that's going on in your brain, just like emotional tagging with your memories, it's often expressed externally. People can tell when you feel confident by your posture, by the way that you walk, your eye contact, the way you carry yourself. They can tell when you believe in you. Earlier, I talked about a pattern with our memories and how it dictates future thought processes and future behaviors. And the same is true with confidence. There's a theory, the confidence performance theory, that says when you are confident, you are more likely to perform better. And when you perform better, you're more likely to find success. And when you find success, guess what happens to your confidence? You're likely to be more confident. And that pattern continues. Throughout my career, for 20 years of standing on stages all around the world, inspiring students, executives, celebrities, athletes, how to build their confidence, how to find their voices, I've learned something else to be true. You can be extremely confident in one area of your life and struggle in another domain. We see athletes do it all the time. Athletes who win championships, score touchdowns, dunk basketballs, struggle to find their voice after the game. What's the secret? What is the key? How do you find your voice? How do you build your confidence so that you feel comfortable speaking up and advocating for yourself? Well, I have an idea worth spreading. I have an idea that could change everything. Since it appears that much of this process related to our confidence is in our brains, right? What if we were to rewire our brains? What if we were able to reset our mental algorithms the same way we do in social media, right? When you see something or say something, you search for a term, suddenly you see it everywhere. What if we rewired our brains in the same way? If we're able to change our belief system that leads to building confidence, maybe that can help us find our voice. Are you ready to turn up the volume? There are some research-based tools that we can all utilize that can help us build confidence and unlock our voices. The first are words. Words are powerful. We all understand how verbal abuse can follow individuals by introducing these self-limiting beliefs. It can harm self-esteem. It can silence your voice. Well, in the same way, positive words, affirmations, which are just positive declarations helping you confirm a thing to be true. Speaking positive words about yourself, to yourself, listening to positive words, reading positive words, that can change everything. In the book, Words Can Change Your Brain by Dr. Newberg and Professor Walden, they suggest that the brain is powerful in telling you what to think. They suggest that you need at least 3 positives to counter a negative. When I think about that pep talk that my mom gave me, she told me I was beautiful. She told me I was smart. She told me I was the total package, that being tall was a gift. I had no idea that was backed in science, but it worked. Use your words to reset your brain about who you are. You are beautiful. You can do it. That is how you build your confidence. The second tool that you can utilize are images. Representation matters, right? Seeing people you can identify with, seeing people who look like you doing great things, being successful, those things can trick your mind. There is a technique in sports, and many sports psychologists will suggest, called visualization, where athletes will sit, they'll close their eyes, and they'll imagine themselves doing hard things. See, it tricks the brain into thinking those things have already happened. And as we know, in that confidence performance loop, that when you feel that you've performed well and found success, you're likely to boost confidence, and it repeats itself over and over and over again. Use positive images to rewire your brain about what is possible for you. Finally, the people. As someone who's operated on teams for my entire life, I can tell you the people around you mean everything. They can change everything for you. Find people that allow you to be vulnerable, that create safe spaces for you to be yourself. When I walked into the 7th grade, one of the things that helped me open up and find my voice was identifying with people who look like me, people who shared the same struggle that I shared. Find mentors, find advisors who can speak life into you. Find therapists and counselors, people who are licensed and trained to help you unlock some things in your mind to help you believe in yourself and find your voice. Use these tools to turn up the volume, build your confidence, and advocate not just for yourself, but for others. Now, as someone who struggled with confidence at the end of her 6th grade year, you can imagine the irony of me having my daughter come to me and talk about her own similar struggles. My daughter's 5 foot, in the 3rd grade, standing head and shoulders over most of her classmates. And she told me last year that some of the kids teased her. I began to do with my daughter what my mom did with me. We've been talking about patterns repeating themselves unless you are intentional about breaking them. So we started doing affirmations. I would have her with me when I'm on stages speaking and watching a tall girl show her how it's done. So I was very overjoyed to hear that she wanted to campaign to be the 3rd grade representative for her school's leadership team. So she put together a campaign and she put together this speech, and this is what she had to say.
Everybody, my name is Taylor Smith. I am in the 3rd grade and I am one of the finalists for the Lighthouse team, and here are 3 reasons why you should vote for me. My first reason is because I have experience. In 2nd grade, I was selected to be grade level Lighthouse representative, and I know what it takes to speak up for you. My second reason is because I love serving other people. I even have this nonprofit named Win Like a Girl, and I help girls and others be passionate, be bright, and I even help them find their voice. My third reason is because I am qualified. I am smart, I have intelligence, I'm kind, and I am not afraid to speak up and have one more thing to say. If you want to win, if you want to grow, voting for Tatum is the way to go. If you want to win, if you want to grow, voting for Tatum is the way to go. So remember to vote for Tatum as your third grade Lighthouse representative. A win for one is a win for all.
Talk about a proud mom moment. To see my daughter struggle with something I struggle with, to see her overcome it using some of the tools that we've talked about today with the affirmations, the images, and having people around her to speak life into her. To see her get up there and deliver that speech that she wrote with no notes in a gymnasium full of students, something that would give adults freeze. I am proud for what that moment meant. But I'm even prouder for what happens next, because we know that that one great experience, that one memory can change everything for her. So if you are speaking boldly now, but trying to transition into something else that has you not feeling so confident, if you're whispering, if you are desperately searching for your voice, know that it starts here. You can rewire your brain. You can reset your algorithm. And that idea can change everything. Thank you.